Ahead on our news tonight, looking for answers. Air accident investigators start their probe into that tragic plane crash in Deadman's Key. Our news is on the ground tonight in Long Island with the latest. The U.S. servicemen come to the aid of crash survivors, helping to get the injured back to the capital for medical treatment. And NEMA already ruling out bad weather as the cause of the ill-fated crash. Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us on this Whit Monday holiday. I'm Jerome Sawyer. Investigators are trying to determine what led to a fatal plane crash in Long Island a day ago, but tonight there are still more questions than answers. Althea Newbold is the lone victim in the crash of a Piper PA-31, which went down around 9 Sunday morning shortly after takeoff. The ill-fated flight crashed in bushes 2 miles from the Deadman's Key Airport in Long Island. In all, 7 people on board, including the pilot. An emergency response by the police and defense force rescued those survivors from the wreckage. They were then airlifted back here to the capital within hours of that crash by a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter. We will have more on the conditions of those survivors later. In all, this has been quite a dilemma for Long Islanders who celebrated the return of the annual regatta from a 2-year hiatus caused by COVID. A full assessment of that crash site happening in Deadman's Key this morning. The Air Accident Investigation Authority confirming the news this afternoon, saying they completed a full mapping of the site. Our Kendino Knowles is in Long Island and joins us from there, where the body of the crash victim is still on the island. Kendino, what can you tell us tonight?
Yes, Jerome. Well, the body of the woman who you just spoke about, who died in Sunday's plane crash and who family members and friends have identified as Althea Newbold, is still being held at the morgue at the community clinic in Sims Settlement, awaiting transfer to New Providence. Island Administrator Kathy Smith telling our news earlier today that the body was supposed to be transferred to the capital today. However, bad weather conditions, she says, leading to that flight being pushed to tomorrow. Newbold, as you said, Jerome, was among the 7 souls on board that Piper PA-31 Navajo aircraft that went down 2 nautical miles off of Deadman's Key Airport on Sunday around 9 o'clock that morning. One resident recalling that she heard a roaring sound that jolted her out of her sleep. Minister of Works and Utilities Alfred Sears in a statement earlier today saying that his daughter Naya, who was also one of those passengers on board that flight, she was one of the survivors, along with Captain Brad McPhee, confirming that woman's identity and also sending condolences to her family, as well as sending best wishes to all those that survived for a full recovery and thanking all those involved in the rescue. Now, investigators, as you said, were at the crash site this morning trying to wrap up their initial investigation, but also just really trying to find answers to what happened.
Heartfelt condolences goes out to the families that lost a loved one on that aircraft, as well as our thoughts and prayers are with the other families of the individuals that were on the aircraft.
Chief Investigator in the Air Accident Investigation Authority, Delvin Major, and a team was on the island this morning, completing a full assessment of the Marshland crash site, which we visited yesterday, a lengthy trek from the main Queens Highway. Following that assessment, Major telling our news that the purpose of this investigation is to not point blame at anyone, but to ascertain exactly what happened.
We've reached out to the Met Office to get a copy of the weather report. We've reached out to our counterparts in the U.S. to get information on the pilot license, medical training, the maintenance records of the aircraft. All those are just to determine that all of the actions were done within the parameters allowed by law. Again, it's not to blame anybody, but to ensure that the pilot is qualified, the aircraft is maintained, the weather was observed. All of these are factors that we look into to determine what may have happened.
Major saying his team was able to learn a lot from the scene and is now reviewing documents from other agencies involved in the investigation. This useful information, he says, will help the authority make recommendations if there is anything that occurred in this case that may be helpful in the future.
We have up to a year to get a report out, not saying that this case will take up to a year, but we just need the public to be patient and bear with us, because gathering all the information as well as recovering the aircraft and possible may have to take it over to the U.S. where we do further analysis. The reports from those analysis can slow down us putting out a report, but we will put out a preliminary report within 30 days.
Now, Jerome, that preliminary report is expected to give any update on the investigation up to that point. Major saying that if any concerns are uncovered during that time, that they will be addressed to the Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas and any other agency, in addition to trying to determine if there are any safety concerns that also may be uncovered, and they will be addressed to Civil Aviation and all the other relevant authorities to affect any kind of change that could prevent another tragedy like this from happening in the future. Jerome?
Thank you very much. Our Candido Knows reporting from Long Island. The victim's name, Alethea Newbold, just a correction. While chiming in on the plane crash, having provided a rescue mission airlifting injured passengers to New Providence, the United States Embassy says this rescue operation is just the most recent example of the value of the close partnership between the United States and the Bahamas. Daniel Durazo, the public affairs officer at the U.S. Embassy, speaking to our news today.
Indeed, this rescue operation is just the most recent example of the real value of the partnership between the United States and the Bahamas, the close partnership that we have. The U.S. Coast Guard and Operation Bahamas Turks and Caicos work closely with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and other Bahamian partners to conduct a medical evacuation of 6 persons involved in a plane crash near Long Island in the Bahamas on Sunday, June 5th. And the U.S. Coast Guard MH-60 helicopter and crew that helped in the case were already deployed to Great Nagua, and they were able to respond immediately after the official request for support was received from local Bahamian authorities.
Details coming in on passengers injured on that ill-fated flight included the confirmation by a local motivator, Spence Finlayson, that his daughter, Leanka Rigby, is now out of Doctors Hospital. Finlayson indicates that she is well but experiencing some discomfort. Meanwhile, Minister of Public Works and Utilities Alfred Sears releasing a statement offering thanks to the first responders who assisted his daughter, Naya Bethel Sears, her friend Alicia Roll, and others involved. Our news has also learned that the one unidentified male passenger has been released from the Princess Margaret Hospital, where he too was held for observation. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, addressing that fatal crash as well. They held a news conference to address the weather system moving across several islands in the north. Gene Joseph picks up the story from here.
Many wonder what led to the fatal crash that left one woman dead and many injured as a plane dove into bushes 2 miles off the runway at Deadman's Key, Long Island. According to Acting Director of the Department of Meteorology, Jeffrey Simmons, the storm system that affected the Northern Islands brought above average rain to those areas, causing flooding. Yet, he says Long Island was not directly in the line of fire.
The rainfall that really came out of the system, we saw the system was like, most of the rainfall took place in islands of Bimini, Berry Islands, Grand Bahama, and Abaco. And that's where most of the rainfall would have occurred. Our reports out of Grand Bahama is that during the 48 hours, the measurement was in excess of 8.6 inches. And that was when most of the flooding most of the rainfall really took place, starting from Friday night going into Saturday evening once the rain began to subside.
Simmons says that while investigations are ongoing, the data available at this time does not indicate that bad weather would have caused difficulties for the pilot.
I checked on, as soon as we got the news, which was about an hour after, and from what we have, the air accident team has already reached out to the department because it is protocol that we would provide a weather package for them to go along with their investigation report. But our radar was showing that there was really no issue with the weather in Long Island at that time when this accident would have occurred. But I don't want to preempt. Really the official report comes from the Air Accident Investigation Team. But from what we can say, it doesn't seem to be anything related to weather.
As investigations continue into the details surrounding the fatal crash, it seems that one angle can be ruled out. Authorities will continue to work to determine what caused that plane to go down, bringing closure to a family in mourning. Reporting for our News, I'm Gene Joseph.
Another wet Whit Monday holiday. It's been this way all weekend, and the week is already off to a gloomy start. Our Greg Thompson is standing by in the Weather Center with our first look at weather tonight. Greg?
Thanks, Jerome, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this soggy and wet holiday Monday. Temperatures near the 80-degree mark, a little on the humid side, and the cloudy conditions. We're still having some light showers out there, and your winds are out of the southwest at 12 miles per hour. Feels like temperature factoring the relative humidity. Very humid, 87 on the outdoors. Satellite view, a lot of moisture. That's actually a trailing trough from Alex, which is still out there turning in the Atlantic, but a lot of moisture stretching across the area. Showers and thunderstorms popping up in the capital. Most of those shower activity extends from New Providence all the way down to Acklands and Crooked Island. We will continue to see this moisture lift towards the north, so more showers in the forecast tonight, and we expect more showers tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Many thanks, Greg. Also tonight, cops on a high-speed chase. The end caught on camera, and the video goes viral. And later, a Chinese dragon in Bahamian waters. We'll explain. Stay with us.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shalif.
Police having a busy holiday weekend despite the rain. Police Press Liaison Superintendent Audley Peters reporting the arrest of a juvenile for the recent shooting of a 13-year-old male on Williams Lane near the Uriah McPhee Primary School. This as a viral video shows a dramatic police arrest on the Sidney Poitier Bridge, which could be tied to an incident at a David Yurman store. The video shows armed police on the bridge while two young males are on the ground in handcuffs. This footage shows officers searching the vehicle. All police are willing to say at this point is that it was a routine stop and search. Well, the head of a regional body of police chiefs is calling on regional governments to invest more in their local law enforcement agencies. The president of the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police, Colin John, believes it's key to clamping down on crime in this region.
We have to, as far as possible, enforce on our governments to put their monies where their mouth is so that law enforcement officers can continue to do an excellent job. We know that security is integral, and we have to ensure that we have adequate resources to ensure that we can police the region.
John was one of dozens of police chiefs attending the ACCP's 36th annual general meeting recently. He's also insisting strong partnerships are key to tackling transnational crime.
Crime is global, and it is boundaryless. We have to operate with that in mind. The criminals, they have no established rule of engagement. They make up the rules as they go along in order to facilitate their nefarious practices. We as law enforcement officers, we are guided by the rule of law, and we have to operate within a certain guideline. Notwithstanding that, we have to be very innovative in the way we police our region, and networking is integral to that.
What about us? That's what the head of a local NGO is asking after she claims her organization was overlooked by the Prime Minister in his recent budget communication. Berthany McDermott has more.
Foam founder Candy Gibson says she's feeling hurt after Prime Minister Philip Davis highlighted two NGOs in Parliament for their work during the pandemic. Gibson says during the pandemic, her organization gave significant help as well.
He highlighted two major NGOs, and I really think that Foam should have been one of the ones highlighted because, do bear in mind, during COVID, we went all out. We was not only feeding people, we were housing people, we were clothing people, we were finding jobs for people, we were paying partial rents, and I ain't gonna lie, it's really make you feel some type of way when you're going out and you're giving the community all and you're being not recognized. It really hurts, you're only human.
During his budget communication, Prime Minister Philip Davis announced that the feeding programs of Bishop Lawrence Rolle and Bishop Walter Hanchel will be added to the list of NGOs to receive governmental assistance. He acknowledged the work they've done during the pandemic even without that assistance. The Prime Minister also announced a real property tax break for all NGOs. However, Gibson feels government can do more.
So it would be good too if they could speak with utility companies, because at the end of the day, you give them person's help. You still have light bill. Like the other day, we couldn't even pay our agreement plan for Care Bahamas, and we were disconnected. So if they could reach out to the utilities companies on behalf of non-profit organizations and assist us even too, the government offer a 52-week program. If they could incorporate NGOs who have buildings, as per se, okay, Ms. Gibson, your own firm, you need an office manager, you need a data entry clerk, you need a customer service rep. Okay, we have a 52-week program going on, and so what we'll do is we'll assign 2 persons for you.
Gibson is also calling on government to meet with NGOs to see how best they can assist them.
I have put in an application in 2017 for a piece of Crown land to build a female shelter. I have gotten no reply yet. So the government, I appreciate what they're doing, but I still think they need to meet with NGOs and see how best they can help the grassroots NGOs in our communities.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Later on, a dragon awakens in the Bahamas, and in sports, the latest on the NBA Finals. We'll have the details when Our News returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamika.
This is Our News. Welcome back. If you live in the Carmichael or Cowpen Road area, you may want to be on the lookout for unauthorized land clearing. The forestry director says hundreds of acres of forest are being torn down to make charcoal. While several government agencies are trying to catch and stop the culprits, there's an appeal to the public for help.
I'd recommend that they contact the police, but specifically the location at JFK, Western Police Station. That station has been active because that's the jurisdiction for that station. I'd recommend they contact there and make a report, not just at the station itself, but also 919, so it's monitored. And so these calls are being monitored, and usually they would either call myself or they call my colleague at DEPP to notice that, hey, these actions are happening. And so even though we can't do active patrols, we could at least monitor it, we could log it and say that there's still pressure.
Now for the latest on Bahamian WNBA athlete Jonquel Jones and, of course, the NBA Finals, here is Marcellus Hall.
Welcome to your Monday Sports Check, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Jonquel Jones and the Connecticut Sun, they were in action yesterday taking on the Seattle Storm. And boy, talk about rallying from behind. Sun trailing by 13 points in the second half. They come roaring back to get the victory here. 93-86 ends up being your final score. Jonquel looked pretty good in this one. 30 minutes played. She scored 25 points to go along with 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and a block on the day. Talk about filling up the stat sheets. Jonquel getting it done. Next up for the Connecticut Sun, will be a game on Wednesday when they take on the Indiana Fever. And, of course, the NBA Finals continuing last night. Pretty good matchup. Game 2 between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. Golden State trying to even the series after Boston stole Game 1, and they would leave little to doubt as jumping out on top early on and never looking back, riding their traditional third-quarter surge. How about this? Golden State, they even the series up at 1 apiece. 107-88 beats the final score. Not even as close as that sounds because Golden State pretty much dominated. Game 3 comes your way this week as well. Taking a look at how that's going to shape up. Game 3 comes your way on Wednesday. That's going to be in Boston.
A wet holiday weekend. Weather is right up after the break, and find out what a dragon is doing in our waters. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamik.
And we are back just in time to catch our Greg Thompson, who is also back in the Weather Center with our second look at weather.
Thanks again, Jerome, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. Wet and soggy day around the most of the islands. Northwest, extreme northwest Bahamas, not seeing much in terms of any cloudiness and showers, as well as the extreme southeast Bahamas. Alex is still out there churning, still a tropical storm at 65-mile-per-hour winds, moving away from Bermuda, but a trailing trough extending across the Bahamas, really keeping us rather soggy and wet for the day. We expect most of this moisture to start to lift back towards the north as a high-pressure system starts to build in from the south, and that will continue to keep some showers in the forecast through tomorrow, and we expect this shower activity to lift even further north as Alex continues to raise. So the Alex should weaken over the next 24 to 36 hours and then become a remnant low by late Tuesday into Wednesday, and we continue to watch that moisture plume stretch across our area. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will fall out of the south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots, light and variable at times across the central Bahamas. Your seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 7:33 tonight. For the southeast Bahamas, a caution fly if you guys down there. Slightly stronger winds, southeast to south 15 knots. They will be gusting at times, and your seas will be running 3 to 5 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through next Monday. At least one more day of showers expected, and things should clear up by the end of the week. That's a look at our weather. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Greg. Certainly looking forward to some sunshine in the coming days. Well, finally tonight, the new sport of dragon boat racing coming alive recently with the official handover of 8 racing boats from the People's Republic of China to the Bahamas. Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Mario Boleg accepted on behalf of the Bahamian government and talking about the potential of dragon boat racing here.
The sport of dragon boat racing has found a home here, right here in the Bahamas. I thank you all for providing this country with the opportunity to showcase and highlight this rapidly growing sport.
That official handover included the dotting of the eye of the dragon, which symbolizes awakening of the dragon, part of the 2,000-year-old dragon boat tradition. China's ambassador to the Bahamas says she believes the sport is a perfect fit for the people of the Bahamas.
Building on the strong recovery of tourism this year, the new festival will hopefully evolve into an annual international event that will attract even more visitors and paddlers to these shores. I have seen for myself the Bahamian people's passion for sailing and regattas, and I have felt their enthusiastic embrace of dragon boat racing. There are both commonalities and interesting differences between dragon boat racing and sailing. Dragon boat racing prioritizes synchronization and discipline, as well as strength and stamina.
Now, on the off chance you are interested, Free training in dragon boat racing is held on Fridays and Saturdays. To sign up for future training sessions, you can visit bcdragonboat.com. Who knows? You may actually see me out there. Well, thank you so much for joining us on behalf of the entire R News team tonight. I'm Jerome Sawyer. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Until then, have a wonderful evening, everyone.